The sky was a blanket of gray, a dull, quiet afternoon. Young Ted Rice played alone in his yard, lost in his imagination. The trees became alien towers, the rocks ancient ruins. He was an explorer on a forgotten planet, king of his own world. Suddenly, a strange light appeared above the tree line, soft, glowing, not the sun. Ted froze, curiosity and fear mixing inside him. The light grew brighter, gliding closer, silent and mysterious. The world seemed to fade away. Even the birds stopped singing. Ted wanted to run, to scream, but he couldn't move. Out of the light, small gray figures emerged, short, with large dark eyes. They moved toward him, silent and emotionless. The air grew cold. Ted's breath caught. He was no longer an explorer, just a scared boy. The beings surrounded him, and the world he knew was about to shatter. The impossible was happening in his own backyard. He was face to face with something truly alien. The light pulsed, and the gray beings closed in. Ted's heart pounded as reality slipped away. He was utterly alone, powerless. The last thing he saw was the glowing orb, filling his vision. Then, everything went white. The world he knew vanished in an instant. The gray beings surrounded Ted, silent and unreadable. One touched his forehead and a strange calm washed over him. He floated upward, the ground shrinking below. The beings glided beside him, guiding him toward the glowing craft. He passed through the wall as if it were water, entering a vast, dim space. The air was cold, metallic, and sterile. Everything was smooth, curved, and seamless, alien. Ted's heart raced as he was led down a long, curving hallway. He didn't walk, he was moved by their will. Strange rooms passed by, some glowing, some dark, filled with incomprehensible machinery. He was a small boy in a place that defied understanding. Was this a dream? It felt too real. They stopped in a bright clinical room, like a laboratory. In the center, a cold metal table waited. The beings gently pushed him toward it. He knew what they wanted, to lie down. The calm faded, fear returned. He was alone, surrounded by silent creatures. The table was cold beneath him. He braced himself for whatever would come next. Terror was all he had left. Ted lay trembling on the metal table, held down by gentle, inhuman hands. A new figure entered, a red-haired woman, almost human but not quite. Her eyes were detached, clinical. She held a container of bright green liquid. Her voice echoed in his mind. "Do not be afraid, this will not hurt. We need to see." She tilted the container, letting a drop fall into his eye. Coolness spread through him, and the world dissolved into swirling colors. Ted floated above his body, looking down at himself. He was a point of light, a spark of awareness, his soul separated from flesh. The beings studied his body, performing tests. He felt detached, a silent observer to his own violation. The fear faded, replaced by a deep sadness. He was just a specimen to them, both body and soul. He hovered, lost and powerless, in an alien world. The green liquid had made him an experiment. He realized they were studying the very essence of who he was. His body was just a shell, his soul was the true subject. He watched, helpless, as they cataloged every part of him. He was no longer a boy, just data in a cold, silent laboratory. The sense of being utterly alone was overwhelming. Ted's soul watched as the beings brought in a small, black box, pure darkness in the bright room. The red-haired woman opened it, revealing a void that seemed to swallow all light. Ted felt a primal dread. The box was meant for him. She pointed it at him, and an irresistible force pulled him toward it. He fought, but the pull was too strong. With a silent scream, he was sucked into the box, trapped in absolute nothingness. He was aware, but there was no sight, sound, or feeling. Time lost all meaning. It was an eternity of sensory deprivation. Despair consumed him. This was a prison for the soul. Suddenly a jolt, he was released, flooded with light. He was back in a body, but it felt wrong, unfamiliar. He looked down, his hands, his legs, his chest. It was his body, but it felt like a suit that didn't fit. The gray beings took his old body away, lifeless. They had swapped his soul into a new, identical shell. He was a copy, a replacement. The reality was horrifying. He watched as his old self was carried out. He was left in a body that wasn't truly his. The experiment had changed everything. He was no longer sure who or what he was. The sense of loss was overwhelming. Ted sat up, moving in a body that felt alien. He wiggled his fingers, trying to reclaim a sense of self. The red-haired woman's voice echoed, "It is a perfect copy. You are safe now." But he felt violated, fake, a replacement. Two new figures entered, tall men, one blonde and silver, one dark-haired and black. They looked human, but too perfect, too cold. They argued telepathically, their thoughts crashing through Ted's mind. The man in black was angry. The experiment is contaminated. This one remembers too much, it should be discarded. The word discarded sent terror through Ted. He was just a failed experiment to them. The blonde man was calmer. The data is valuable. The emotional response is part of the test. He will be returned. The memory will be suppressed. Ted was a pawn in their experiment, his fate debated by beings who saw him as an object. He heard words like hybridization, generations, observation. He was a small piece in a terrifying puzzle. His life hung in the balance. The argument raged on, but Ted was powerless. He wanted to scream, to prove he was real, but fear kept him silent. He was just a child caught in a cosmic experiment. The outcome would decide everything. He waited, helpless, for their decision. His sense of self slipped further away. The blonde man won the argument and turned to Ted. "You have been chosen," his voice said. "You are part of a great project." He gestured, and a wall became transparent, a window into a vast, dark chamber. Ted saw an audience of bizarre creatures, greys, insectoids, reptilians, hybrids. They watched in silence, eyes fixed on him. Ted realized he was a performance, his suffering on display. The blonde man explained, "We are creating a new generation, a bridge between worlds. The audience represents different species, all invested in the experiment." Ted felt sick. He was a data point, a curiosity. His terror and confusion were entertainment for monsters. The project was vast, organized, and he was just one of many children chosen. The faces in the darkness were cold, alien, and merciless. He was a microbe under a microscope, not a person. The explanation only deepened his fear. This was no accident. It was a cosmic program. Human children were test subjects, their pain the main event. Ted's soul was exposed to the unimaginable. He was utterly powerless. The truth was more terrifying than anything he could have imagined. He was trapped in a nightmare with no escape. The window faded, and the blonde man addressed Ted. "The procedure is complete. You will be returned home. You will not remember this consciously, but the knowledge will remain, deep within you." A gray being approached with a device to erase his memory. The blonde man added, "This body is a perfect copy, but it is not the only one. We have made others, to see how different versions of you develop." The words hit Ted like a blow. Other copies, other versions living elsewhere. Was he the original, or just another duplicate? His identity shattered, he was not unique. The gray being touched the device to his head. Dizziness swept over him, the room faded. The faces, the black box, the monstrous audience, all receded into fog. But the anguish remained, deep and haunting. As darkness closed in, one desperate question echoed in his mind. Who am I? The question would haunt him forever. The world he knew was gone, only the fear remained.